At her weekly press briefing on Friday, Speaker Nancy Pelosi slammed Republican legislation pertaining to abortion and reproductive rights. Since the Dobbs decision by the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, Republicans in both Congress and in states have sought to restrict abortion. Senator Lindsey Graham is currently pursuing legislation to criminalize abortion after the 15th week of pregnancy. Democrats have remained united in opposition to any rollback of abortion rights, accusing Republicans of so-called extreme policies. Since the Dobbs decision, Democrats have seen an uptick in polling and believe the issue could help them buck historic trends and possibly keep the House and Senate.
Good morning, everyone. I just came from the Supreme Court, where all of us there witnessed a very historic occasion. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson investiture as the first African-American woman member of the Supreme Court. I think there's something like 109 members of the Supreme Court in our country's history. At long last, an African-American woman. It was pretty exciting. The president was there, and of course it was his appointment, and the Attorney General's role was to propose that. So it was pretty thrilling. At the same time, though, we're very sad and mourn the loss that Hurricane Ian is exacting in Florida. We're praying for those who have lost their lives, and it's unprecedented scale. The president said it's probably the biggest hurricane ever to hit Florida. Congress's pledges to be there for those who were affected now and in the future, including the billions more we have in this bill that is on the floor now in the CR that we're passing today. Nearly $19 billion more for FEMA. This has been a busy and historic week for those of us in the House. Yesterday, it was my honor to welcome 16 heads of state of Pacific Island nations to the United States Capitol. We had bipartisan, bicameral welcome for them, and we listened to them on how we can work together. This is part of the president's Pacific Partnership Strategy. The president, the administration, the president has had at least two-day summit meeting with the heads of the Pacific Island countries, and part of it was our role at the Capitol. And this initiative for the Pacific is one of the reasons why I took my congressional delegation to the region. We went to Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, to be part of the Indo-Pacific economic framework is one part of it, and now this with the Pacific Islands. It was pretty exciting. It's weird talk about security, economy, and governance, and how we can work together to have free, open, and safe countries in the region in partnership with them. Also yesterday, I say this with excitement because it's personally exciting to me to celebrate the legacy of our 33rd President, Harry Truman, where we had the unveiling of the statue with his family there. Pretty exciting, honoring his commitment to democracy. All of us who spoke, Democrats and Republicans, talked about President Truman's commitment to democracy. The statue is there because Missouri has sent the statue to represent them, and again, a moral, visionary leader. I say personally because the president came to Baltimore to campaign for my father, who served in Congress when president was vice president and president, old friends, and I conveyed to them my personal story of meeting Harry Truman. It was very exciting. I'm sure many people in the room probably had met Harry Truman, but not many members of Congress. Okay, so now to our legislative agenda. Today we're doing the continuing resolution. It again ensures that full government services will have full government funding through December 16th, and that gives our appropriators more time to come for a funding agreement for next year. As I always say, left to their own devices, the appropriators can find a bipartisan way, having said that as an appropriator myself. As we pass it, I just want to mention that it addresses key priorities: $12.3 billion for the fight for democracy in Ukraine, $4.5 billion for disaster relief for New Mexico, Puerto Rico, Florida, and Alaska, and other communities. And additional, as I said, $18.9, almost $19 billion for FEMA's disaster relief fund. Some of it needed right away for Ian, but it's more will be needed. And then $1 billion to help working families pay higher energy bills, and $20 million to respond to the water needs in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. Also, we'll be passing today on the floor, I think the debate is right now on it, legislation to honor our promises to the families of those killed in the 9/11 terror attacks. There's a shortfall of funding for the families and the children of families, spouses and children of the families. I think it's first up before the CR, right? The family. But in any event, in one order or another, the legislation, the Fairness for 9/11 Families, ensures access to United States Victims of State Sponsors Terrorism Fund for spouses and children. We have some other needs to meet as deadlines come for health benefits and the rest, and we're fully committed to providing those, maybe even before the end of this year, we'll see. But we certainly will meet the health needs of our first responders on 9/11. We look back on this session with great pride as we come to this part of it. We will be back in a lame duck for more, but we put people over politics, lower costs, for example, lower healthcare costs, as well as prescription drug costs. I'll go more into that. Lower costs, bigger paychecks, and safer communities. This summer, we passed and the president signed into law, as you know, the Inflation Reduction Act. It slashes costs, including, as I say, extending the ACA subsidies, which is lower cost for health care for families, and lowering prescription drug prices. It creates millions of good-paying jobs by delivering the most significant climate change legislation in our country's history and any country's history to cut carbon pollution by 40% and lower energy costs, and dramatically lowers the deficit while fully being paid for by taxing wealthy and corporate that they pay their fair share, especially those who are cheating on their taxes. Alongside the Inflation Reduction Act, we are very proud to have passed the American Rescue Plan, put millions to work rebuilding America and delivering clean water and broadband across America. Well, that's in the infrastructure law. But the American Rescue Plan powered record job creation and rescued our economy from the depths of the pandemic. The PACT Act, providing life-saving care and remedies to millions of our veterans who sacrificed for our freedom. This is historic, hundreds of billions of dollars. I want to thank our chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Mark Chicano, for what his leadership on that role, and so many others, Raul Ruiz, so many others were part of the intellectual leadership on that. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, gun violence prevention law to prevent background check, keep guns out of the hands of those, and CHIPS and Science Act, you know that very well, lowers costs. Now, all these became law. The CHIPS and Science ensures a diverse workforce with STEM. California, we say STEAM, science, technology, engineering, the arts, mathematics, independent on foreign semiconductor manufacturers. At the same time as that is happening, in contrast, the House Republicans are doubling down on a dangerous MAGA agenda, criminalizing women's health care, attacking free and fair elections, and slashing Medicare and raising drug prices, consistent with their statement that Medicare should wither on the vine. First, to criminalize women's health care, including birth control in all 50 states. The extreme MAGA House GOP is already on record about their extreme plans for a nationwide abortion ban. The overwhelming majority of House Republicans have co-sponsored a bill to criminalize abortion in all 50 states before most women even know that they are pregnant, punishable with a 5-year prison term for sentence for doctors. 166 House Republicans co-sponsors a Life Begins at Conception bill to criminalize all abortion after fertilization. Okay, so much for freedom in our country. Second mega in their contrast is attack our democracy by making it harder to vote, purging voters from the rolls, nullifying elections, and helping MAGA politicians invent a basis to overturn the results of an election they don't like. Change the rules after the election because they don't like the result. 147 House Republicans, I remind you, on that night when there was violence and an assault on the Capitol, an incitement of insurrection by the President of the United States, blood on the floor, shattered glass, assault on our Capitol, our Constitution, and our democracy. 147 House Republicans voted to overturn the results of the 2020 election. 203 House Republicans showed their support for the dangerous extreme MAGA assault on free and fair elections by voting against the Presidential Election Reform Act, hoping to leave our elections vulnerable to the next MAGA effort to overturn them. We talked about women's right to choose, freedom of personal choice. We talked about assault on our elections, and then the third, which was part of their rollout and previous to their rollout, the slash Medicare and Social Security and raise seniors' drugs prices. We are so proud that in the Inflation Reduction Act, an historic provision was in there, something we've been working on for a long time, to enable the Secretary of Health and Human Services to negotiate for lower drug prices, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, capping what seniors need to pay to $2,000 a year, and again, preventing pharmaceutical companies from exploiting the consumer by raising prices above the cost of inflation. This exploitation is something that the Republican pharma has said we'll pay for that. Democrats will pay for that. So they want to do that. They've called it for slashing and again, somewhat privatizing of Social Security. We've been down that path before, and ending Medicare as we know it as part of this year's Republican Study Committee budget. They have this in writing. Now House Republicans are promised to repeal, as I said, the lower prescription drug costs, raising costs for seniors in order to hand billions of dollars of profits to their friends, Big Pharma. As I said, Big Pharma said, we're going to pay for lowering seniors' prescription drug prices. The American people see the contrast in priorities. It's clear. Democrats put people greater. I love the greater than mathematical. People greater than politics. Lower cost, bigger paychecks, safer communities. So this is a contrast. This is an election, as we come up on it now, not to talk politics, but civics. This is an election about contrast. Nationwide abortion ban, respecting freedom of choice for families. Again, kitchen table issue like prescription drugs, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, the Republicans wanting to reverse that. The list goes on and on about where they are on these issues. Any questions?
Madam Speaker.
No? Let's see. Yes, sir.